Malaysia's ringgit is so weak. That's what's big on the news today. The ringgit has been dropping to record levels. Some official reports show that the currency is at its lowest since the Asian financial crisis, whereas others state that Malaysia's ringgit has become the worst performer in Asia just after the Japanese yen. A cause for concern as it directly impacts the Malaysian economy and average people. It's an issue that sits on the country's grocery system, to vacations, and even investments. A weak ringgit has a lot of drawbacks for the country, yet what stands unclear is the reason. For reference, around early 2020, $1 is the equivalent to about 4 Malaysian ringgit. But as of the time of writing, $1 is about 4.7 Malaysian ringgit. Not so bad, but people should also know that way back then, around 2014, $1 was the equivalent to around 3 Malaysian ringgit. Another often used indicator by observers is the ringgit to Singaporean dollar. One Singaporean dollar used to be 2.5 Malaysian ringgit in 2014, yet today it reaches almost 3.5. Some observers even state that it may one day breach the 1 Singaporean dollar to 4 ringgit. Now, moving on. You probably have heard various opinions on why the ringgit is struggling. Some blame it on political instability, others point to global market forces, and still others think it's due to poor economic policies. But are these really the reasons why? Well, this is what we're going to understand in today's video. And we'll also understand what the government is doing. Is the government intervening to help make the ringgit stronger? So let's stop asking and start answering. First up on the list is to understand why the ringgit is so weak and discuss it from 3 perspectives: political instability, global economic forces, and local economic policies. First, political instability. You can't deny that politics play a big role in the health of a country's currency. Every time there's a new headline about political drama or uncertainty, the ringgit takes a hit. This isn't unique to Malaysia. It happens everywhere. But the frequency of such events here, like power struggles and corruption scandals, make investors nervous. And when investors are nervous, they pull out, causing the currency to drop. Secondly, global economic forces are at play. The US dollar has seen nothing but strength over the past few years, and when the dollar gets stronger, all the other currencies often get weaker. To put it simply, it's not that the ringgit is doing poorly, it's just that the dollar is doing really well. But you may ask, how does this happen? Well, simple. Interest rates. The US Federal Reserve has been hiking interest rates in their country, making assets super attractive, forcing investors globally to pour all their money into the US economy. But we'll discuss more on that later. For now, let us discuss other global economic factors. Some important things to note are the global trade wars and also fluctuations in oil prices, as these affect the ringgit, given that Malaysia is a significant exporter of oil and natural gas. Lastly, we also have local economic policies. Think about the country's debt levels and trade deficits. When a country imports more than it exports, it has to buy more foreign currency, which in turn weakens its own. Also, a high level of debt means the government has less room to maneuver, making it harder to implement policies that could strengthen the ringgit. So you see, the weakness of the ringgit isn't due to just one factor. It's due to multiple issues, both within and outside Malaysia's control. Now, the most important part of the video is, what is the government doing? If the government can do something about it, why aren't they? Well, these are not simple questions to answer. Simply because currency stability is always one of the most important aspects of an economy, but it doesn't mean that it's the easiest one to deal with. Let's start with government intervention. One way to make the ringgit stronger is simply by increasing interest rates. Higher interest rates attract foreign investors looking for the best return on their investments. More foreign investment means more demand for the ringgit, which should help raise its value. If we trace back earlier, this is what the US Federal Reserves have done. They've hiked interest rates left and right, pushing the US dollar stronger. The Malaysian central bank, however, has actually done this recently. The interest rate rose from around 1.75% around 2021 to over 3% as of the time of writing. Yet, if that's the case, why is the Malaysian ringgit still sliding down? Well, analysts pointed out this way. Malaysia's interest rate adjustment is likely to be more gradual than international rates. The narrowing interest rate differential will be reflected in a weakening ringgit. Or, to put it simply, Malaysia has not really increased interest rates as much as other countries such as the United States. But then you may ask why? Well, that's the downside to all of these. Higher interest rates could mean that people will find it more expensive to borrow money. This can slow down economic activities, like buying homes or starting businesses. Slower economic activity means less tax revenue for the government and potentially higher unemployment rates. So it's not really an easy thing to do. On the other hand, if you increase the interest rate, you have a stronger ringgit, but on the other, you have a slower economy. What does the government want to do? Well, that's the difficult question, but from the looks of it, they're seemingly trying to balance things out, trying to ensure that the ringgit does not slide too much and ensure that the economy is still going. Now, additionally, there are also interventions or possible government actions such as exports. Boosting exports could bring in more foreign currency, and thus strengthen the ringgit. They could also buy and sell currencies, engaging in forex market interventions to directly influence the value of the ringgit. By selling foreign currencies and buying ringgit, the government can increase demand for the Malaysian currency, contributing to its appreciation. However, this method requires substantial foreign exchange reserves and could be unsustainable in the long term. But you get it. You understand why government interventions are not an easy thing to do. So, let's now talk about the opinion of actually letting the ringgit stay weak. Yes, we're proposing to people that a weaker ringgit is actually okay, and here's why. A weaker ringgit makes Malaysian products cheaper for other countries, potentially boosting exports. Plus, it could attract more tourists and foreign investors, as their foreign currency will have more purchasing power here. However, it also makes imports more expensive, which can lead to inflation. So people might find everyday goods and services becoming pricier. But it's not just about goods and services becoming more expensive. The weakening ringgit can also affect jobs. Companies that are struggling with higher import costs might need to cut expenses elsewhere, and often, jobs are the first to go. Unemployment could rise, making life difficult for many families. So the weaker the ringgit, the harder it can get for the average person. But here's the other side of the coin. A weaker ringgit can also be good for some sectors. See, as we stated earlier, tourism is one, but the other is exports. As the Malaysian ringgit slides against the dollar, Malaysian products actually become cheaper. This means that other countries buy Malaysian goods and services for a cheaper price. This may then potentially boost exports. So the thing is, the benefits aren't really spread equally to everyone. If you work in a sector that gains from a weak ringgit, you might be doing all right. But for most people, the rising cost of living could outweigh any potential benefits. Simply, a weak ringgit creates winners and losers, and more often than not, the average citizen ends up on the losing end. In the end, the issue of the ringgit's strength or weakness isn't just an abstract economic discussion. It's a matter that impacts real lives every day. As we've seen, there are both pros and cons to both a strong and a weak ringgit, and the ideal path forward is likely a balanced one. That balance will only be achieved through informed debate, careful planning, and proactive citizen engagement. So let's get the conversation started. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.